I'm packing my baby's things and we are leaving for good. He didn't suspect anything, he thinks he will see. Today marks the end of a toxic relationship as I sit here, waiting for my mom to arrive. My husband is oblivious to the storm brewing outside. He left for work earlier, unaware of the impending departure that awaits him when he returns tonight. In a few hours, my baby and I will be gone, leaving behind a life of pain and suffering. The facade of a loving relationship has been shattered, and he's still clueless. His absence has given me the freedom to pack our belongings, a poignant reminder of our new life without him. He's been deceitful, physically and emotionally abusive, and I've had enough. The thought of being near him now fills me with disdain, and I'm grateful to be escaping the toxic hold he's had on me for so long. When he returns tonight, he'll find an empty home, a harsh consequence of his own actions. Girlfriend heard over an honest answer to a question my 20-MGF 21F was saying how she was going to talk to my parents in an Indian accent and mock them. She was joking and I know she wouldn't do that. But I told her if she did anything like that to disrespect my parents' foe. Cross-cultural communication mismatch. My 20-year-old boyfriend and his 21-year-old girlfriend have a disagreement stemming from a seemingly innocuous conversation. The girlfriend had joked about mimicking her partner's mother's Indian accent to mock her. The boyfriend, aware of her playful nature, made it clear that he would end the relationship if she went through with the joke. When pressed for a reaction, the boyfriend confirmed that he would sever ties if she carried out her joke, despite claiming she would never do so. Now, the girlfriend feels hurt because the boyfriend didn't have a more empathetic and open-ended conversation about his concerns. She contrasts her partner's response with how he would handle a hypothetical situation where she disrespected his family. This discrepancy has created tension in their relationship. As a multiracial couple, he is Indian and she is Caucasian. They may be facing unique communication challenges. Edit: I do not think this is a racial issue as stated in the original post but rather a cross-cultural communication issue. I have added that to the beginning of the post. Update: I do not think there is any need to add anything to the story. TLDR: a boyfriend and girlfriend are experiencing relationship difficulties due to a misunderstanding about communication and respect for somebody unrelated to me gave me a car for Christmas. I cried and cried. I couldn't believe it. My parents' neighbor lost their only son in a car accident, and they kinda took me in, and I love them too. Tonight we were having beers on their porch and they told me they were GI. I received a life-changing gift from a kind stranger this holiday season, a car, no less. I was overwhelmed with emotion and struggled to find my voice as the weight of their generosity settled in. My parents' neighbor, who I've grown to care for deeply, has been through a devastating loss after their only son passed away in a car accident. Despite their pain, they've taken me under their wing and shown me the true meaning of compassion and love. We were sitting on their porch, enjoying a quiet evening together, when they revealed their plan to give me their car. They shared with me that they had prayed about it and felt it was the right decision to make. Just as we were wrapping up our conversation, my own car broke down, leaving me stranded on the side of the road. I'm still grappling with the magnitude of this act of kindness. It's a humbling reminder that there are people in this world who truly care and will go out of their way to make a difference in someone's life. This selfless act has inspired me to be a better person, to pay it forward and spread love and kindness in the new year. I'm grateful for their example and look forward to following in their footsteps. Edit: I'll make sure to malicious compliance, wife edition this evening. We plan to have homemade burgers for dinner. Nothing special, just a beef patty, a bun and some sweet potato fries to go with it. As my wife is leaving work, she texts and asks if I want anything to go on top of the burger. The burger of unintended consequences this evening. We had planned a simple homemade dinner, consisting of a classic beef burger, a bun, and sweet potato fries. My wife, however, had other plans. As she was finishing up at work, she sent me a message, inquiring about any additional toppings I might desire. I responded with a tongue-in-cheek remark, suggesting the biggest, best burger ever. That I had envisioned perhaps a few slices of cheese and some crispy bacon to elevate the meal. But, as it turned out, my wife took my suggestion quite literally. Upon her return, she arrived with an impressive array of toppings, including cheese, bacon, onion rings, barbecue pulled pork, hash browns, chicken dippers, and caramelized onion chutney. Needless to say, I have learned a valuable lesson about the power of unintended interpretation. The mountain in question. A homeless man asked for spare change and I gave him $5. Instead of saying, "Thank you," to me, he gave me a weird look and said, "That's all you've got?" What an ungrateful poss. I should have asked for my dollar back but didn't want to risk getting stabbed. I felt guilty. I was approached by a homeless individual who asked for spare change, and I decided to contribute $5. However, instead of expressing gratitude, he gave me a disapproving look and made a remark that left me feeling disheartened. His comment made me feel as though my generosity was not appreciated. The encounter left me with mixed emotions, feelings of guilt for not being able to offer more, mixed with irritation towards his ungrateful attitude. It's as if the saying, "No good deed goes unpunished," holds some truth. Despite this experience, I still believe in lending a helping hand to those in need. My desire to assist stems from my love of giving, and I won't let a single negative encounter deter me from doing so. I just needed to share my frustration with this particular situation. Has anyone else encountered a similar experience, or perhaps one that was truly heartwarming? I am 23, and I never want to get married because I don't want any responsibilities and want to play video games my whole life. Is something wrong with me? Edit. Here responsibilities means responsibilities coming from marriage, not from getting a job. Edit. Thanks for all th. As a 23-year-old male, I've come to realize that I'm not interested in taking on the responsibilities associated with marriage. For me, the idea of settling down and giving up my carefree lifestyle is unappealing. I cherish the freedom to spend my days playing video games and pursuing my hobbies without any obligations. My aversion to marriage stems from a desire to maintain my independence and avoid the constraints that come with it. I've always envisioned a future where I can continue to indulge in my passions, including gaming, without the weight of responsibility holding me back. I'm not sure if there's something inherently wrong with me for having this outlook, but I'm curious to hear from others. Am I unusual in my reluctance to take on the responsibilities that typically come with adulthood, or is this a common perspective among my peers? TLDR, a 23-year-old male shares his reluctance to get married due to a desire for independence and the freedom to pursue his hobbies, including gaming. My ex-wife was killed because of me. My ex-wife was killed because of me, and I regret everything. I discovered she has been cheating on me with her friend for over a year. Instead of taking the reasonable approach and just divorcing her with silence, I went all out and informed. The weight of guilt consumes me. A heavy burden of remorse grips me, as I grapple with the unshakable truth. My ex-wife's untimely demise was, in part, a direct consequence of my actions. What started as a painful discovery, her infidelity with a close friend that had been secretly ongoing for over a year, spiraled out of control. I made the choice to confront her, and, in doing so, publicly embarrassed her in front of our social circle. Her family, rooted in conservative values and traditional beliefs, was deeply offended by my actions. Initially, there were no repercussions, but as the divorce proceedings unfolded, a 2-month wait proved to be a mere facade. A family member, fueled by a twisted sense of honor and loyalty, saw fit to take matters into their own hands. The outcome was devastating. My ex-wife was taken from me, her life cut short by the very person who claimed to love and protect her. The guilt I feel is suffocating, a constant reminder of the role I played in her tragic fate. Despite my recent decision to seek therapy, the nightmares persist, a haunting testament to the emotional scars I carry. TLDR: a man's ex-wife was killed by her relative after he AITA? Pregnant and husband's single sister takes dibs on baby names. Just had my gender reveal. We are so excited that it's a girl. Immediately afterwards, my husband, 24YO's twin sister, who's a committed virgin till marriage and not dating, barely ever dated, sat me down. Am I the asshole for not respecting sister-in-law's baby name preferences? My husband's twin sister, a devoted virgin who's not actively dating, recently dropped a bombshell. Following our exciting news of having a baby girl, she sat me down to discuss her pre-selected list of names for her future children. The lengthy list primarily consisted of family names that I had also considered using. What's more astonishing is that she explicitly stated that I couldn't use any of them, which left me feeling both frustrated and disrespected. Given that I'm the pregnant one with an impending baby girl, I believe it's only natural for me to have the final say in choosing her name. I politely yet firmly expressed my sentiments to my sister-in-law, explaining that her expectations were unwarranted. Now, I'm wondering, am I the asshole for not accommodating her name preferences? I fucking love people who encourage you to take your time when you're doing something difficult, new, or uncomfortable. The phrase, "take your time," is one of the most instantly reassuring and motivating things I've ever heard in my life. It's so simple, but so beautiful, it ends. There's something truly endearing about individuals who support you in taking your time when tackling a challenging, novel, or anxiety-inducing task. The phrase, "take your time," has an undeniable, soothing effect on me. It's a deceptively simple yet profoundly comforting phrase that instantly dispels the pressure to be an instant expert. By uttering these words, the person observing you conveys a deep trust in your abilities, recognizing that the uncertainty you're experiencing is a natural part of the learning process. To those people who offer this reassurance, I extend my heartfelt appreciation. Your presence undoubtedly makes the world a more supportive and understanding place. If you have been mostly quarantining since March, you are my hero, and I, along with my fellow healthcare workers, appreciate you. You, yes you, are my hero. I don't know you, but you have helped to keep my family safe. I am physician resident this year, aka my intern year. As someone who has been diligently protecting public health since the early days of the pandemic, you have earned a special place in my heart. You, the unknown individual, have unknowingly safeguarded the well-being of my loved ones. As a physician in training, I've witnessed firsthand the unwavering resolve of those who've been diligently following safety protocols, often at great personal cost. Your selfless acts, though often overlooked, have significantly contributed to mitigating the spread of this virus. You've made countless sacrifices, canceled plans, lonely holidays and birthdays, and endless hours of social isolation. I appreciate every moment of selflessness, every masked face, and every instance of restraint. Your choices to prioritize the safety of healthcare workers, family members, the elderly, and strangers have been nothing short of heroic. I tip my hat to you for your unwavering commitment to this cause. Knowing that you've been working tirelessly behind the scenes has made my own fears of contracting the virus and inadvertently putting my family at risk more manageable. I understand that the recent surges can be disheartening, and it may feel like others are not making the same sacrifices. But you are the embodiment of the helpers that Mr. Rogers spoke of, shining beacons of hope during AITA, for suggesting, letting my 17-year-old son get drunk? I, 46M, live with my wife and my 17-year-old son. My wife has been on a different continent for about a month taking care of her dying mother, so it has just been me and my son for that time. My son and I have a very CL. Am I the asshole, AITA, for allowing my 17-year-old son to try drinking with me? Lately, my wife has been away on the other side of the world, caring for her ailing mother, leaving my 17-year-old son and me to fend for ourselves. As a result, our bond has grown stronger, and he often confides in me about his life. The other day, my son mentioned that he's attending his first high school party, and his anxiety stems from not knowing his limits with drinking. Given the local culture in our province, where underage drinking is relatively common, I decided to take the opportunity to guide him. Since the drinking age in Canada is 19, I thought it'd be wise to give him a taste of what to expect in a controlled environment. I suggested that we have a few beers while watching a sports game, using it as a dry run, so to speak. My reasoning was that if he were to drink excessively at the party without any experience, it could lead to undesirable consequences. So, I let him try a few beers, but cut him off at 6. He was quite intoxicated but in a stable state, and we both agreed that he should have stopped at fewer beers. My husband peed on my wedding dress the night of our wedding. I still have no idea WTF is going on in his head to think that this was nothing or no big deal. He literally peed on my wedding dress the night of our wedding, inside the hotel room. I yelled at him, WTF constant L. On the night of our wedding, my husband made a bizarre decision that left me utterly bewildered. He decided to urinate on my wedding dress while we were in our hotel room. I'm still trying to process what must have been going through his mind for him to think this was acceptable. I repeatedly expressed my outrage, but he downplayed the situation, stating it was merely a prank and an opportunity for him to leave his mark. He claimed this was something he'd been eager to do when he got married, but he hadn't told me because he assumed I'd be furious. He seemed to believe the incident was trivial and easily forgotten, even mentioning that the urine stains would come out with a simple wash. However, his nonchalance only fueled my anger and disgust. He expected us to have sex afterwards, but I refused, as I was still reeling from the shock and embarrassment of what had occurred. The memory of that night is etched in my mind, and I found it impossible to sleep in the same bed as him afterwards. TLDR, my husband urinated on my wedding dress and seemed to think it was a harmless joke. TIFU by going on an anti-Semitic rant to my 4-year-old. This happened yesterday, but I didn't realize what I had done until this morning. I was in the car running errands with my 4-year-old son when he suddenly asks, "Why are some people Jewish on Christmas?" I vaguely, a parental slip-up I'll never forget this past day. A disturbing realization crept in as I reflected on a moment from yesterday. My 4-year-old son was in the car with me, and he posed an innocent question. Why are some people Jewish on Christmas? I initially thought he was referring to people being envious or resentful, as I recalled him watching cartoons featuring characters who wanted to ruin Christmas. In an attempt to provide a simple explanation, I told him that those individuals were mean, selfish, and didn't want to share with others. He seemed to understand, and our conversation moved on to other topics. However, as the day progressed, my husband brought up the possibility that I might have misspoken, implying that I said Jewish people didn't want to share. I quickly grasped the gravity of what had happened. Our son's daycare recently celebrated Hanukkah, and he had been inquisitive about the Jewish culture and customs. I was horrified to think that I might have inadvertently instilled in him a misconception about Jewish people. TLDR, my son asked about people on Christmas, but I mistakenly thought he said, jealous people, and explained their supposed greediness. TIFU by wearing the wrong size shoes for my entire adult life. Okay, so by TIFU standards, this is pretty tame, but considering the years of agony I unintentionally put myself through, I think it qualifies. I have fairly weird-sized feet. They're very wide, but not all that L. I've been a victim of my own ignorance for nearly 2 decades. In my book, this is a relatively minor transgression compared to some of the other embarrassing mishaps I've been through. However, considering the chronic discomfort I put myself through, I believe it warrants a mention. My feet are somewhat unusual in shape. They're quite wide, but not overly long. I'm a relatively short guy, standing at around 5 feet 7 inches, and my shoe size selection has often been influenced by this factor. Since I'm not particularly tall, I assumed I should be wearing relatively small shoes, right? Wrong. As a child, my mom would buy me new shoes and measure them by pressing the toe to ensure I had about a ½ inch to an inch of space to grow into. This approach seemed logical at the time. However, as an adult, I made the mistake of thinking I should buy shoes where my toes would touch the end. For me, that equated to a size 10 US. Unfortunately, my wide feet would often cause the sides of the shoes to stretch and eventually break down. I tried switching to size 10W, but that didn't seem to help. My running shoes were particularly ill-fitting, and I even suffered a TIFU by creating the most terrifying and embarrassing moment in my life. It is currently 1 a.m. This happened about 20 minutes ago. I am currently bawling my eyes out from humiliation and shock. I will write out this event as if you were me. I will not include details before the most unfortunate moment of my life. It's currently 1 a.m. and I'm still trying to process the events of the past 20 minutes. My eyes are welling up with tears of humiliation and shock, and I'm finding it difficult to collect my thoughts. I'll recount the events as if you were me, but I'll omit any details before I knew them. It all began when I stumbled back home from work, exhausted from a meeting that ran late into the night. I went straight to the shower, lit up my vape pen, and started drying my hair. The next hour is a blur, but I vaguely recall playing Red Dead Online and getting comfortable. My cat, Winnie, suddenly interrupted my gaming session with a strange, low-pitched meow, similar to a warning call. I paused the game and took off my headphones to investigate. Winnie was meowing insistently in the living room, which was dimly lit only by a nightlight. She ran to the doorway of my bedroom and let out another meow. I followed her out into the living room, where I saw that the motion-activated light outside was flickering on and off. Winnie was staring intently through the blinds, meowing repeatedly. TIFU by leaving my dildo out in front of my Christian father. NSFW, so. I'm 19 and living with my parents while I go to college online. My family is uber Christian, Pentecostal. I'm supposed to be without a sex drive until marriage Christian. They called me a whore because the blunder of exposing my intimate secret to my pious father. As I sit here, reflecting on the events of this past Sunday, I'm still trying to process the sheer magnitude of my mistake. I'm 19, attending college online, and living with my parents who embody the most devout form of Christianity. Their rigid expectations and judgmental nature have made it difficult for me to navigate my own identity, especially when it comes to my relationships and personal desires. Every Sunday, my family attends church at 11 a.m. In the lead up to the service, my parents typically knock on my door at 10 a.m. to ask if I'm coming with them. To avoid the inevitable drama, I usually pretend to be interested in accompanying them. This past Sunday, I decided to use the extra time for a personal indulgence. My boyfriend is on the other side of the country, and as a woman, I have needs that require satisfaction. I reached for my trusty pink toy, a discreetly hidden companion in my closet, and indulged in some solo pleasure. Afterward, I carelessly left the item on my dresser to air dry, its vibrant color standing out like a beacon in my room. My mind was preoccupied with relaxation, and I update my 20F sisters 28F behavior towards my boyfriend 21M is horrendous. Previous post. I'm on mobile. I apologize for any mistakes. Hi. First of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your help. I'm really grateful for the support I've received here. Update my 20F sisters 28F behavior towards my boyfriend 21M is appalling. Previous post. I'm on mobile. Apologies for any typos. A huge thank you to everyone for the incredible support and advice I received. It truly helped me muster the courage to address my sister's appalling behavior. Your kind words and messages gave me the strength to confront her, and for that, I'm eternally grateful. I should mention that this outcome isn't the epic showdown I initially hoped for. However, I've always struggled to stand up to my sister, and my boyfriend shares the same aversion to confrontations. He's also extremely accommodating, which made this situation even more challenging for both of us. Despite this, I finally mustered the courage to talk to my sister yesterday. She was lounging in my living room in her underwear and bra, which completely caught me off guard. I asked her to put on some clothes, but she claimed it was too hot. This led to a heated exchange when she made a snide comment about me being insecure about my boyfriend's feelings for her. I sat her down and had a stern conversation with her. I told her that her behavior was making me uncomfortable, and so TIFU by cheating on my wife with a fictional woman. I'm not a native speaker of DA English, so please bear with me. TLDR at the bottom, as this sub requires a minimum of 750 characters per post. A couple of days ago my wife had a dream where I cheated on her and later leaving. I made a terrible mistake by creating a fictional woman to placate my wife's concerns. Please forgive me for not being a native speaker of DA English. I'll do my best to explain what happened. Recently, my wife confided in me about a disturbing dream where she saw me cheating on her and abandoning her to live with another woman. My first instinct was to lighten the mood and create a humorous backstory for the imaginary woman. I named her Brumhida, a name that isn't commonly used in our area, believing it would add an air of intrigue to her character. To make matters worse, the next day I posted a witty comment on a social media page, only to be surprised by a user named Brumhida, who responded with laughter. I found it amusing and decided to share it with my wife, but it backfired when she immediately sent me to sleep on the sofa. TLDR wife has a nightmare that I'm cheating. I try to turn it into a joke, and things take an unexpected turn for the worse due to my own foolishness. AITA flipping out on my fiancé for canceling all the vegan food options from our wedding food menu behind my back? My fiancé, 31 male, and I, 25 female, are getting married soon. There wasn't much that disagreed on during the wedding planning except for food. Me and my family, my fiancé and I have been at odds over our wedding menu, with a major point of contention being the inclusion of vegan options. As a vegan, I had been adamant that we include at least 4 to 5 plant-based dishes, but my fiancé and his family have consistently pushed back. They claim it's a waste of money and that their guests wouldn't appreciate being served salad, a condescending comment that made me feel belittled. I stood firm in my decision, citing our shared expenses and my desire to make my guests feel included. My fiancé tried to compromise, suggesting we offer salads and appetizers as our vegan options, but I refused to settle for that. His mother even went so far as to call vegan food, not real food. Despite my initial agreement with my fiancé, it's come to light that he canceled all the vegan options from the menu without my knowledge or consent. When I confronted him about it, he claimed his mother had suggested it, but eventually admitted to making the decision himself. He tried to justify it by saying I had been dismissive of his family's concerns and input, and that he felt pressured to make a decision. But I'm still fuming. Why should our vegan guests be forced to TIFU by making everyone in the elevator think that they were going to die? Alright, so this is an old story, but when I found this sub, I had to share. When I used to be a Muslim, I had an app on my phone that would sound the adhan when it was time for prayer. I was unholy. TIFU by turning an elevator into a scene from a disaster movie. I'm sharing this old story because it fits perfectly with the spirit of this community. As a former Muslim, I had an app on my phone that would signal the adhan, indicating it was time for prayer. I was on a holiday when things went awry. After the recent Paris attacks, I got into a hotel elevator, where 6 or 7 people were already inside. As I stood there, my phone suddenly blared the adhan, filling the air with the phrase, Allahu Akbar. The elevator turned into a scene of pandemonium. People were crying, screaming, and one individual even tackled me to the ground. It took me a few moments to explain to them that I wasn't a threat, and once they realized their mistake, the mood shifted to one of awkward amusement. I acknowledge that not everyone might consider this a mistake, but for me, it's clear that blasting the adhan in an elevator after the Paris attacks was a misstep. TLDR, adhan plays in elevator, everyone thinks I'm about to detonate a bomb. Edit. This post has generated an unexpectedly huge response. Before I respond to comments, I want AITA for being visibly shocked, dumbfounded that my GF, 21, American, could not point out Florida on a map. While sitting next to my girlfriend on a plane, I was bored as fuck and looking at the maps that are found in the back of the airline magazines. A conversation led to H. Was I in the wrong for being taken aback when my girlfriend, 21, American, couldn't identify Florida on a map? While on a plane, I was glancing through the in-flight magazine to pass the time when a casual conversation with my girlfriend led to her confessing that she didn't know where Florida was on the map. This revelation caught me off guard, especially considering that she had attended a private high school and was nearing the end of her college senior year. Our conversation continued, and I discovered that she was also unable to pinpoint the location of Australia on the map. My initial reaction was one of genuine surprise and astonishment. I couldn't help but express my shock, and my girlfriend took offense to my reaction, labeling me an asshole for making her feel inferior. Although I do regret making her feel that way, I still believe that my reaction was justified, and it might serve as a catalyst for her to learn basic geography. Perhaps this incident will prompt her to explore the world and expand her knowledge. TLDR girlfriend can't identify Florida and Australia on a map, and I express my shock. Is this an asshole move? AITA for refusing to forgive my dad for breaking our deal? When I, 17M, was 8, my parents bought me a piano and signed me up for lessons. I was super excited because I love music. Over time I kind of became known as the piano guy at school. I play at school concerts, a compa. Was I the asshole for not forgiving my dad over a broken deal? When I was 8 years old, my parents gave me a piano and arranged for lessons. Music had become a significant passion of mine, and I was known for my talent at school. I played at concerts, accompanied the school jazz choir, and even performed at local retirement homes. As I turned 15, I mentioned wanting to stop lessons, and my parents tried to persuade me to continue by emphasizing the importance of maintaining my grades. My dad proposed a deal: if I stayed with the lessons and kept up my grades until I reached level 10 RCM, he would buy me a new vehicle of my choice. We agreed on the terms and shook hands. Growing up in a financially stable household, I have always been encouraged to earn my own money, whether for everyday items or luxury goods. My dad is known for exploiting loopholes when competing with me, which often leaves me frustrated. He dismisses my concerns by saying life isn't fair. Despite the challenges, I persevered with my piano lessons. I dedicated around 1 to 2 hours daily to practice while maintaining my academic performance. Last summer, I completed my level 9 RCM exams, fulfilling my part of the deal. Sorry, you revoked my overtime privileges yesterday. This was several years ago when I worked at a redacted big name coffee shop. My shift was 5 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., and often around 1 p.m. giant groups of kids on school field trips would come through the area. This was a coffee shop. I remember you taking away my overtime benefits, I said, recalling a tense moment from my past. It happened several years ago when I worked at a prominent coffee shop in a bustling California city. My shift typically started at